The garage smelled like sawdust and motor oil, two scents that had become my sanctuary over the past year. I was hunched over my workbench at 11:30 on a Tuesday night, sanding down a piece of oak that would become a bookshelf Collins would probably hate. She'd been dropping hints about hiring someone to upgrade my workshop into a proper home office. Because apparently, a man who builds things with his hands is an embarrassment to a corporate lawyer's image. My phone buzzed against the metal surface. Collins. Of course. I want to date other men. You stay faithful. Understood? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I stared at the screen for a full minute. 22 years of marriage, 2 daughters, a mortgage we'd paid down together, and this is how she chose to reinvent our relationship. Not a conversation, not even a phone call. A text message delivered like a corporate memo. The funny thing about being married to someone who thinks she's smarter than everyone else is that she never sees the obvious coming. Collins had been working late, 3 nights a week for the past 6 months. She'd started going to the gym at dawn, buying new underwear, and taking girls' trips to cities where her college friends supposedly lived. I'm not stupid. I just hadn't decided what to do about it yet. I picked up my phone and typed back, "Understood." She responded immediately, "Good. Glad we're on the same page." On the same page. Right. Like we were negotiating a business contract instead of discussing the nuclear option for our marriage. I set the phone down and went back to sanding, but my hands were shaking now. 22 years reduced to a text exchange that took less than 2 minutes. My workshop had been my escape for the past year as Collins grew colder and more distant. She used to joke that I was handy, back when she said it like it was charming instead of something to apologize for at dinner parties. Now she introduced me as my husband who runs a small construction business, emphasis on small, while she talked about her cases and her promotions and her important meetings with important people. I'd built this house with my own hands. Not literally every board and nail, but I'd done the major renovations, the additions, the deck where we used to have coffee on Sunday mornings before she started spending weekends at the office. Collins lived in a house I'd built and apparently couldn't wait to redecorate it with someone else. My phone buzzed again. Emma, Collins' best friend since college. She's seeing David from her office. I'm sorry. Want to talk? There it was, confirmation of what I'd suspected but hadn't wanted to face. David Morrison, the sleazy corporate attorney, Collins had mentioned a few too many times in recent months. The one who drove a BMW and wore expensive suits and probably hadn't built anything more complicated than an IKEA bookshelf in his entire privileged life. I typed back to Emma, "Want to grab dinner tomorrow? I need a photo." Emma responded instantly. "What are you planning?" "Nothing illegal, just evening the playing field." "I'll pick the restaurant." I smiled for the first time in months. Emma had always been the honest one in Collins's circle of friends. She'd divorced her cheating husband 3 years ago and had been watching Collins's behavior with increasing disgust. Emma worked as a freelance graphic designer, lived in a townhouse she'd bought with her divorce settlement, and had no patience for the corporate games that Collins loved so much. I spent the next hour in my workshop, not building anything, just thinking. Collins wanted to date other men while I stayed faithful. She wanted the security of marriage with the excitement of being single. She wanted to have her cake and eat it too, as my grandmother used to say. But Collins had made one crucial mistake. She'd assumed I would roll over and accept her terms like I'd accepted her subtle insults and growing distance over the past year. She'd assumed I was the same guy who used to apologize for getting sawdust on her business clothes. I wasn't that guy anymore. Emma chose Marcello's, an upscale Italian place downtown where Collins' law firm held client dinners. It was exactly the kind of restaurant where news traveled fast and everyone knew everyone else's business. Emma had always been strategic like that. She was waiting for me at a corner table, wearing a black dress that made her look elegant and confident. Emma had always been prettier than Collins, in my opinion, but she'd spent so many years being the supportive best friend that most people overlooked her. She had dark hair, green eyes, and a smile that actually reached her eyes when she wasn't pretending to be happy for Collins's sake. "You look nice," I said, sliding into the seat across from her. "So do you. When's the last time you wore a tie?" "Collins's Christmas party. You were there." "Right, the one where she spent the whole night talking to David while you helped her boss's wife with her coat." Emma had noticed. Of course she had. Emma noticed everything. We ordered wine and talked about safe subjects for the first 20 minutes. Her work, my business, the weather, anything except why we were really there. Finally, Emma leaned forward and lowered her voice. "She's been seeing him for 4 months, maybe longer." "How do you know?" "She asked me to cover for her twice, said she was with me when she was actually at hotels with him. I found receipts in her purse when I was helping her pack for that conference in Chicago last month." "The conference where she said you couldn't come because it was work only?" "She lied. I wasn't invited because she was planning to spend the weekend with David." I took a long sip of wine and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not heartbreak, exactly, more like clarity. Collins hadn't just decided to cheat on me. She'd been planning it, orchestrating it, involving her friends in the deception. She'd turned our marriage into a joke and expected me to be grateful for the punchline. "I'm sorry," Emma said. "I should have told you sooner." "Why didn't you?" "Because I hoped she'd come to her senses, and because I was afraid of what you'd do." "What am I doing?" Emma smiled. "Something that's going to make her very angry." We ordered dinner and talked like old friends. Emma told me about her photography hobby, her plans to renovate her kitchen, her mother's health problems. I told her about the furniture I'd been building, my ideas for expanding my business, the book I'd been reading about Japanese woodworking techniques. Normal conversation between two people who actually liked each other. It felt revolutionary after months of Collins' monosyllabic responses and constant phone checking. After dessert, Emma moved to the seat next to me. "Ready for your photo?" I put my arm around her shoulders and she leaned into me, both of us smiling like we were sharing a private joke. Which, in a way, we were. Emma took the selfie with her phone, showed it to me for approval, then handed me the phone. "You should post it from my account first. More impact." I typed, "Great dinner with my favorite person. Some conversations are worth waiting for." Then I tagged the restaurant and posted it to Emma's Instagram. Within 5 minutes, Emma's phone was buzzing with notifications. Collins's friends, Collins's coworkers, Collins's sister. Everyone who followed Emma's social media was seeing the photo and drawing their own conclusions. Then I posted it to my own Facebook with a different caption. "New chapter. Sometimes the best things happen when you least expect them." I tagged Emma and checked in at the restaurant. My phone started ringing immediately. Collins. I declined the call and ordered another glass of wine. "She's calling me too," Emma said, showing me her phone screen. "Answer it." Emma put the phone on speaker. Collins' voice was shaking with rage. "What the hell are you doing?" "Having dinner," Emma said calmly. "What are you doing?" "You're with my husband." "Your husband who you told to stay faithful while you date other men? That husband?" Silence. Then, "He told you?" "He didn't have to. I've known about David for months." "Emma, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You want to screw around while keeping your marriage as backup, but you forgot that your husband has options too." Collins hung up. My phone immediately started buzzing with texts. "Come home right now." "This is insane. We need to talk." "You're embarrassing yourself." I showed the messages to Emma, who laughed. "Embarrassing yourself, that's rich, coming from her." "She's scared," I said. "Good, she should be." We finished our wine and I walked Emma to her car. She stood close to me in the parking lot, and for a moment I thought about kissing her. Not for the photo or the revenge, but because she smelled like vanilla and wine, and because she'd looked at me all evening like I was someone worth listening to. Instead, I squeezed her hand. Thank you. For what? For being honest. For being here. For being you. Emma smiled. This is just the beginning, you know. I know. I drove home slowly, taking the long route through downtown and past the lake. Colin's car was in the driveway, and every light in the house was on. I could see her silhouette pacing back and forth in the living room window. I parked in the garage and sat in my truck for a few minutes, checking my phone. The photo had been shared 12 times and had 43 comments. Colin's sister had called me twice. Her mother had sent a text asking if I was going through some kind of crisis. The only crisis I was going through was finally waking up. Collins was waiting for me in the kitchen, still wearing the business suit she'd had on when she left for work that morning. Her face was flushed and her hands were shaking. I'd seen her angry before, but this was different. This was panic. Sit down, she said. We need to talk. I thought we already talked, via text message. Don't be sarcastic. Why not? You've been sarcastic about everything I do for the past year. Collins sat down across from me at the kitchen table I'd built from reclaimed barnwood 3 years ago. She'd complained then that it was too rustic for her taste. Now she drummed her manicured nails against it, like she was typing an angry email. The photo with Emma was inappropriate. Inappropriate how? You know how. People are talking. People have been talking about you and David for months. I'm just catching up. Collins's face went white. Who told you about David? Does it matter? The point is, you asked for an open marriage. I'm opening it. That's not what I meant, and you know it. Then explain what you meant, because your text was pretty clear. Collins stood up and started pacing again. I meant we could explore other connections while maintaining our primary relationship. I meant we could be mature about this. Mature, right. Like sneaking around behind my back for 4 months was mature? I wasn't sneaking around. I was being discreet. You were lying. I was protecting you. I laughed, and the sound was harsh enough that Collins stopped pacing. Protecting me from what? The truth? From getting hurt unnecessarily. David doesn't mean anything. If he doesn't mean anything, why have you been spending weekends with him in hotels? Collins sat back down and tried a different approach. Her voice got softer, more conciliatory. Look, I know this is confusing, but we can work through this. We can set boundaries, establish rules. Rules like I stay faithful while you do whatever you want. Rules like we both explore other relationships while prioritizing our marriage. Except you've been exploring for months while I've been home building furniture and wondering why my wife suddenly found me so boring. Collins reached across the table and tried to take my hand. I pulled it away. You're not boring. We've grown apart. People change. Needs change. Your needs changed. Mine stayed the same. What are your needs then? I looked at her for a long moment. Collins was still beautiful at 39. She worked out religiously, dressed expensively, and carried herself with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. But sitting across from me in our kitchen, she looked smaller somehow. Desperate. Honesty, I said. Respect. A wife who doesn't text me her demands like I'm a subordinate. I didn't mean for it to sound like a demand. How did you mean for it to sound? Collins was quiet for a minute. Like a conversation starter. Via text message, at 11:30 at night, while you were out of town with David. I wasn't with David. I was at a conference. Emma saw the hotel receipts. Collins' face hardened. Emma needs to mind her own business. Emma's been covering for you. She's been lying to me for months because she thought you'd come to your senses. And now she's trying to steal my husband. Nobody's stealing anything. You gave me permission to date other people. I gave you permission to explore other connections, not to humiliate me publicly. How is having dinner with Emma humiliating you? Because everyone knows Emma has had a crush on you for years. That stopped me cold. What? Collins realized she'd said too much. Nothing. Forget it. Emma has feelings for me? It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Collins stood up again. Fine. Yes. Emma has been in love with you since college. She's been waiting for an opportunity like this for 20 years. I thought about Emma's smile at dinner, the way she'd leaned into me for the photo, the way she'd looked at me in the parking lot. Things started clicking into place. And you've known this the whole time? Of course I've known. Why do you think I never left you alone with her? But you left her alone with the truth about David. Collins didn't have an answer for that. I stood up and headed for the stairs. I'm going to bed. We're not finished talking. Yeah, we are. You wanted an open marriage. Congratulations. It's open. What's that supposed to mean? I stopped at the bottom of the stairs and looked back at her. It means I understand the rules now. You date whoever you want, and I'll do the same. With Emma. With whoever I want. That was your idea, remember? I went upstairs and locked the bedroom door. Collins stood in the hallway for 10 minutes, alternately knocking and threatening and pleading. Finally, she gave up and went to sleep in the guest room. I lay in bed thinking about Emma's confession that Collins had been planning this for months. The business trips, the late nights, the new clothes and gym memberships. Collins hadn't just decided to cheat on me. She'd been building a new life that didn't include me, and she'd expected me to be grateful for the scraps. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd assumed I would be the same doormat I'd been for the past year. She'd assumed I would take whatever she was willing to give me and ask for nothing in return. She was about to learn how wrong she was. I woke up to 17 missed calls and 42 text messages. Collins had apparently spent the night working her phone, trying to control the narrative about my dinner with Emma. Her friends, her family, her coworkers, everyone wanted to know what was happening with Collins' marriage. The best message came from her sister Janet. What kind of midlife crisis involves your wife's best friend? I texted back. The kind where your wife asks for an open marriage via text message. Janet didn't respond to that. Collins was already gone when I came downstairs. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. We need counseling. I made an appointment for Thursday at 3 p.m. I crumpled up the note and threw it away. Collins wanted counseling now that her secret was out and her plan had backfired. Where was her interest in counseling 6 months ago when she was planning her affair with David? My phone rang. Emma. How did it go last night? About as well as you'd expect. She's panicking. Good. She should be. Are you free for lunch? Depends. Are you planning to cause more scandal? Emma laughed. Always. Meet me at Riverside Cafe at noon. Riverside Cafe was directly across the street from Collins's law firm. The restaurant had floor-to-ceiling windows and outdoor seating that faced the office building where Collins worked. It was the kind of place where Collins's coworkers went for power lunches and client meetings. Emma was waiting for me at a window table, wearing jeans and a sweater that made her look casual and approachable. The opposite of Collins' power suits and careful makeup. You're evil, I said, sitting down across from her. I prefer strategic. Collins is probably watching us right now. I glanced across the street at the glass office building. Does that bother you? Does it bother you? Not even a little bit. We ordered sandwiches and talked about normal things. Emma's work, my latest furniture project, the weather. But underneath the casual conversation, there was an energy I hadn't felt in years. Emma listened when I talked. She asked follow-up questions. She laughed at my jokes. It was revolutionary after months of Collins' distracted responses and constant phone checking. Can I ask you something? I said. Anything. Collins said you've had feelings for me since college. Is that true? Emma was quiet for a moment, stirring her iced tea with her straw. Yes. Why didn't you ever say anything? Because you were married to my best friend. Because I'm not the kind of person who breaks up marriages. But you're the kind of person who helps expose affairs. That's different. I didn't break up your marriage. Collins did. Emma was right. Collins had broken our marriage the moment she decided to start seeing David. Everything that happened after that was just consequence. What happens now? I asked. That depends on what you want. I want Collins to understand that actions have consequences. I want her to know what it feels like to be betrayed by someone she trusts. And after that? I looked at Emma across the table. She was beautiful in a way that Collins had never been. Natural, unguarded, real. But more than that, she was present. She was here, in this moment, with me, instead of checking her phone or thinking about work or planning her next move. After that, we'll see. Emma smiled. I can work with that. We finished lunch and walked outside together. Emma's car was parked next to mine in the lot behind the cafe. She stopped beside her door and looked up at me. Collins called me this morning. She wants to meet for coffee. What did you tell her? I told her I was busy. I told her I was having lunch with my new favorite person. You're really enjoying this, aren't you? Aren't you? I thought about it. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. Not Collins' disappointing husband or David's romantic competition. Just myself. Yeah, I said. I am. Emma stood on her tiptoes and kissed my cheek. Good, because this is just getting started. She got in her car and drove away, leaving me standing in the parking lot with the taste of vanilla lip gloss and the feeling that my life was finally moving in the right direction. My phone buzzed. Collins. We need to talk. Come to my office. I typed back, can't. I'm busy. Busy with what? Living my life. You should try it. I drove home and spent the afternoon in my workshop, actually building something for the first time in weeks. A jewelry box for Emma, made from cherry wood with brass hinges and a velvet interior. Something beautiful and personal and completely different from the utilitarian furniture Collins preferred. While I worked, I thought about Emma's confession. She'd been in love with me for 20 years but had never acted on it because she respected my marriage. Meanwhile, Collins had been planning her affair for months and had expected me to be grateful for her honesty. The contrast was striking. By evening, the jewelry box was finished. I'd carved Emma's initials into the lid and lined the interior with deep blue velvet that matched her eyes. It was the kind of gift Collins would have called impractical and sentimental, perfect for Emma. Collins' law firm occupied 3 floors of a glass tower downtown, the kind of building that screamed success and intimidation in equal measure. I'd been there exactly twice in the past 5 years, once for Collins' promotion party and once to pick her up when her car was in the shop. Both times I'd felt like an intruder in my work boots and flannel shirts. Today, I wore a suit. The receptionist, a young woman with perfect makeup and a practiced smile, looked surprised when I walked into the lobby, carrying a small wrapped box. Can I help you? I'm here to see Collins Mitchell. I'm her husband. The smile faltered slightly. Do you have an appointment? I don't need an appointment to see my wife. The receptionist picked up her phone and spoke quietly for a moment, then hung up and pointed toward the elevators. 15th floor. She'll meet you in the lobby. I rode the elevator up, enjoying the view of the city through the glass walls. Collins' world was all vertical lines and expensive materials, everything designed to impress and intimidate. My world was horizontal, sawhorses and lumber, things built to last rather than to impress. Collins was waiting when the elevator doors opened, and she looked furious. She grabbed my arm and pulled me toward a small conference room. What are you doing here? Bringing you a gift. I held up the wrapped box. What is it? Open it. Collins unwrapped the box carefully, probably hoping it was jewelry or some other peace offering. Instead, she found a small wooden picture frame containing the photo Emma had posted on Instagram, the 2 of us smiling at dinner. Very funny. I thought you'd appreciate it. You can put it on your desk next to the photo of David. Colin's face went white. I don't have a photo of David on my desk. No? My mistake. Must be in your purse then. You're being ridiculous. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, you're the one who's been ridiculous. Sneaking around, lying to your husband, involving your friends in your deception. That's not mature, Collins. That's pathetic. Collins looked around the conference room, probably worried that her coworkers could hear us through the glass walls. Lower your voice. Why? Afraid people will find out that your marriage isn't as perfect as you pretend? People already know something's wrong. You made sure of that with your little photo shoot yesterday. I had dinner with a friend. You've been having an affair for 4 months. Which one of us is really embarrassing you? Collins sat down heavily in one of the conference room chairs. For the first time since this whole thing started, she looked genuinely defeated. What do you want from me? I want you to understand what you've done. I want you to know what it feels like to be betrayed by someone you trust. I never betrayed you. You've been sleeping with David for 4 months. That's not betrayal. That's exploring other connections. While lying to me about it. I was protecting you. You were protecting yourself. You wanted to keep me as backup in case things didn't work out with David. Collins was quiet for a long moment. Maybe that's true. It is true. And now you're angry because I'm not playing along anymore. I'm angry because you're humiliating me. I'm giving you exactly what you asked for. An open marriage. With Emma. With whoever I choose. That was your idea, remember? Collins looked at the photo in the frame, then back at me. She's using you. Emma has wanted to break us up for years. Maybe. Or maybe she's just honest about what she wants. And what does she want? Me. She's wanted me for 20 years, apparently. But she never acted on it because she respected our marriage. Unlike David. Unlike David. Collins stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. So what happens now? Now you live with the consequences of your choices. And you live happily ever after with Emma? Maybe. Or maybe I just live happily. Either way, it's not your concern anymore. I stood up to leave, then turned back. Oh, and Collins? Next time you want to change the terms of your marriage, try having a conversation instead of sending a text. It's more mature. I left her standing in the conference room and rode the elevator back down to the lobby. The receptionist watched me leave with curious eyes, probably wondering what kind of drama she'd just witnessed. Outside, I called Emma. How did it go? Better than expected. She's starting to understand that actions have consequences. Good. Are you free tonight? What did you have in mind? Dinner at my place. I'll cook. I'd like that. Bring an overnight bag. Emma was quiet for a moment. Are you sure? Collins wanted an open marriage. Time to open it all the way. I'll be there at 7. I hung up and walked to my truck, feeling lighter than I had in months. Collins had spent 4 months planning her affair and expecting me to accept it gracefully. She'd forgotten that I had options too. She was about to be reminded. Emma's townhouse was everything Collins' house wasn't. Warm, comfortable, lived in. The furniture was mismatched but cozy. The walls were covered with photographs she'd taken, and the kitchen smelled like garlic and wine instead of cleaning products and ambition. She answered the door wearing an apron over jeans and a t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked beautiful and real and completely unself-conscious. Perfect timing, she said, standing on her toes to kiss my cheek. Dinner's almost ready. I handed her the jewelry box I'd made. I brought you something. Emma unwrapped it carefully, running her fingers over the smooth cherry wood and brass hinges. You made this? This morning, after our lunch. She opened the lid and saw her initials carved into the wood, the blue velvet lining. It's beautiful. So are you. Emma looked up at me with tears in her eyes. Collins is an idiot. Maybe, but her loss is your gain. Emma led me to the kitchen, where she'd prepared salmon with herbs and roasted vegetables. We ate by candlelight at her small dining table, talking about everything and nothing. Emma told me about her photography, her travels, her dreams of opening a gallery someday. I told her about my business, my plans to expand, the furniture I wanted to build. Real conversation between two people who actually liked each other. After dinner, we moved to the living room with a bottle of wine. Emma curled up next to me on the couch, her head on my shoulder. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Anything." "When did you know your marriage was over?" I thought about it. Probably 6 months ago. Colin started treating me like an employee instead of a husband. Everything I did was wrong or insufficient or embarrassing. I just didn't want to admit it. And now? Now I know that I deserve better than someone who texts me her demands like I'm a subordinate. Emma lifted her head and looked at me. "You deserve someone who sees how amazing you are." "Do I?" "Yes. You're kind and talented and funny and loyal. Collins never appreciated any of that. But you do. I always have." Emma kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of 20 years of waiting. I kissed her back, tasting wine and possibility and the promise of something real. We made love on her couch like teenagers, desperate and clumsy and perfect. Emma was nothing like Collins. She was present, engaged, focused on the moment instead of planning her next move. When she looked at me, she saw me, not some disappointing version of who she wanted me to be. Afterward, we lay tangled together under a throw blanket, watching the fire in her fireplace. "What happens tomorrow?" Emma asked. "Tomorrow, Collins learns that she's not the only one who can make choices." "Are you going to tell her?" "I don't have to. She'll figure it out." Emma traced patterns on my chest with her finger. "I don't want to be your revenge against Collins." "You're not. You're my choice to be happy." "Good, because I've waited 20 years for this. I'm not sharing you with anyone." "Not even Collins?" "Especially not Collins." I pulled Emma closer and kissed the top of her head. Collins wanted an open marriage, but she forgot that doors swing both ways. And now? Now she gets to live with the consequences. We fell asleep on the couch, wrapped around each other like we'd been doing it for years instead of hours. I woke up once during the night and watched Emma sleep, her face peaceful and unguarded in the firelight. For the first time in months, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I woke up in Emma's bed at 7 a.m., sunlight streaming through her bedroom windows. She was already awake, propped up on her elbow watching me sleep. "Good morning," she said, smiling. "Good morning. How long have you been awake?" "About an hour. I was afraid if I fell back asleep, I'd wake up and find out this was all a dream." I pulled her down for a kiss. "Not a dream." "Good, because I have plans for you." "What kind of plans?" Emma grinned. "The kind that will make Collins very, very angry." My phone had been buzzing intermittently since 6 a.m., Collins probably wondering where I'd spent the night. I'd turned the sound off and ignored it, but now I checked the messages. "Where are you?" "Come home, we need to talk." "This is ridiculous. You're acting like a child." "I'm calling the girls." That last one made me sit up. Becky and Sylvia, our daughters, were both in college and didn't need to be dragged into their parents' drama, but Collins was desperate enough to use them as weapons. "She's calling the girls," I told Emma. "What will you tell them?" "The truth. That their mother asked for an open marriage and I gave her one." Emma got up and started making coffee, moving around her kitchen like she'd been doing it for me every morning for years. "They'll take her side." "Maybe. Or maybe they'll ask why she was texting me demands instead of having a conversation." My phone rang. Becky, our older daughter. "Dad? Mom called me crying. She says you're having an affair." "I'm exploring other connections. Your mother gave me permission." "What does that mean?" I told Becky about Collins's text message, about the months of lying and sneaking around, about David. Becky listened without interrupting. So Mom's been cheating on you? For 4 months, at least. And now she's mad because you're doing the same thing? Apparently. Becky was quiet for a moment. That's pretty hypocritical. Yes, it is. Are you happy, Dad? I looked at Emma, who was pretending not to listen while she made breakfast. Yeah, I am. Then good for you. Mom's been treating you like crap for years. After I hung up, Emma brought me coffee and sat on the edge of the bed. That went better than expected. Becky's always been perceptive. She's seen how Collins treats me. What about Sylvia? Sylvia's more like her mother. She'll take Collins's side until she hears the whole story. Emma's phone buzzed. Collins. She wants to meet me for coffee, Emma said, reading the message. Are you going to go? Should I? I thought about it. Yes, but not alone. What do you mean? I mean it's time for Collins to face both of us together. Emma smiled. You want to ambush her. I want to have an honest conversation. All 3 of us. No more secrets, no more lies. She'll hate it. Good. She should hate it. She created this situation. Emma texted Collins back. Coffee sounds great. I'll bring a friend. Collins responded immediately. What friend? Emma showed me the message. I typed the response. The one you gave permission to date other people. Collins didn't respond to that. We met Collins at a coffee shop downtown, the kind of place where Collins's professional friends went to be seen. Emma and I arrived together, holding hands, making no effort to hide our relationship. Collins was already there, sitting at a corner table wearing sunglasses and looking like she hadn't slept. She'd lost weight in the past week, and her usually perfect makeup couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. Sit down, she said when we approached her table. Thanks, but we'll stand, I said. Collins looked around the coffee shop, probably worried about who might be watching. People are staring. Let them stare. You wanted an open marriage? This is what it looks like. Collins took off her sunglasses and I saw that she'd been crying. I never wanted this. What did you want? Emma asked. I wanted to explore other connections while maintaining my primary relationship. You wanted to have your cake and eat it too, I said. I wanted us to be mature about this. Mature like sneaking around behind my back for 4 months? Mature like lying to your friends and family? Mature like texting your husband your demands instead of having a conversation? Collins looked back and forth between Emma and me. You two have this all figured out, don't you? We're figuring it out as we go, Emma said, just like you and David. David doesn't matter. Then why have you been sleeping with him? Collins didn't have an answer for that. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to file for divorce. You're going to split our assets fairly. You're going to leave Emma and me alone. And you're going to live with the consequences of your choices. And if I don't? Then everyone in this town will know exactly what kind of person you are. Everyone will know that you asked for an open marriage via text message while you were out of town with your boyfriend. Collins put her sunglasses back on. You're both going to regret this. Maybe, Emma said, but we'll regret it together. Collins stood up and walked out without another word. Emma and I sat down at her abandoned table and ordered coffee. That was easier than I expected, Emma said. She's scared. Her perfect life is falling apart, and she can't control the narrative anymore. Do you think she'll fight the divorce? She might try, but she doesn't have much leverage. Emma reached across the table and took my hand. What happens now? Now we build something real, something honest, something that doesn't require text messages and lies and secret hotel rooms. I'd like that. So would I. We finished our coffee and walked out together, hand in hand, into the bright morning sunshine. Behind us, Colin's perfect world was crumbling. Ahead of us, something new was beginning, something real, something understood.